This is Mutou Mitsuki, who is randomly summoned from Japan to another world by the king of Grisarka Kingdom, who measures him for a power called Pure Concept. Unfortunately, his power is revealed to be null, so he is thrown out of the castle and treated as useless. While depressed under a bridge, he meets a priestess named Menou, who explains that people from Japan have been summoned throughout history, like some kind of gacha game. So many in fact, that Japanese culture has taken over the world. Here, the reincarnations are named Lost Ones, and every single one has a special ability. She also explains that besides the commoners, society is split between the nobility, the noblesse, and the church called the Faust. Menou then leads him to a church to find out more about his power. While attempting to find out his true power, Mitsuki discovers his pure concept is actually the pure concept of null, meaning it can nullify anything in existence. Menou then assassinates him, revealing she is an assassin for the church who specializes in terminating lost ones before they can harm the world. A second lost one appears, but this time a girl. Menou then reports her successful mission and the existence of the second lost one, the girl summoned after Mitsuki, to Archbishop Orwell. A flashback then occurs showing Menou's village being destroyed by a lost one before being dispatched by Flare, the master who trained Menou. After the flashback, Momo, her aide who's quite obsessed with her, comes flying out of the sky. Outside, soldiers from the kingdom appear, revealing that the king wants to use a girl's unusually powerful pure concept to overthrow the church and rule without their interference. But Menou easily finishes off the soldiers and continues on a mission to infiltrate the castle where the Japanese girl, Akari Tokido, is being kept. Menou is able to successfully infiltrate the castle and finds Akari on a balcony. She attempts to convince Akari to escape with her, and she ends up agreeing by saying that she actually does believe her. Akari then ends up revealing that her pure concept is actually a healing ability right before Menou disappears and takes her out of the picture. However, upon Akari's death, her power activates, revealing it is actually the pure concept of time which reverses her body to before her death, reviving her with no idea that she just died. A shocked Menou then contacts Momo, letting her know that she has to take Akari with her instead, and she needs Momo to distract some guards. This allows for the two to run and jump out of the castle into the forest. The two then end up at the abandoned church where Menou contacts Orwell. She reveals to Orwell that Akari's special power makes her immune to being dispatched. Immensely worried about the pure concept that can manipulate time, Orwell demands Akari be brought to her in Garm in 3 days for a ceremony that can eliminate any lost one, because her power could destroy the entire world. In the morning, Menou and Akari then have breakfast where she finds out Akari is actually quite absent-minded but also a romantic who desires an adventure. She tells her about a ceremony that will send her back to Japan, but Akari is quite disappointed as she feels that meeting Menou was fate. Momo then informs Menou that the church will officially put King Grisarka on trial for heresy. She also happens to be quite jealous that Menou has to spend an extended amount of time with Akari, and she insists on traveling with them to Garm, but Menou refuses. While at the train station, Menou warns Akari not to use her power, but almost straight away she uses it to heal a little girl's injured hand, forcing Menou to distract nearby royal knights with bubbles so they don't notice. Once distracted, Menou rushes over and karate chops her for attracting attention and for not listening to her. Meanwhile, sneaky Momo notices Grisarka's warlike daughter, Ashuna, on the same train heading to Garm. And on the train, Menou is then seen quite conflicted as the end of the journey will mean the end of Akari. Inside the VIP carriage, Ashuna's guards are knocked out and the carriage is taken over by a bunch of rebels asking if she is the princess. More rebels then show up throughout the train, and one notices Menou as she's dressed like a priestess. He tells her to drop her scripture and of course her dress as well. Suddenly, Akari butts in for her and tries to take her place instead. But since Menou is overpowered, she easily takes out both rebels. In another carriage, Momo learns the rebels want to trade Ashuna for their imprisoned leader. She then heads to the roof of the train where she meets Ashuna, who, seeing Momo as the priestess, attacks her and deduces that her target must be on the train. Inside the engine section, Menou notices that the defeated rebels are faking being passed out. Now with the rebels realizing that Menou's onto them, they reveal that they are actually on a one-way mission as they swallowed primary regimes earlier, which absorbs their bodies, and then turns into an armored warrior tasked to destroy the train. Back on the rooftop, Momo kicks Ashina off the train but brings Momo down with her. Meanwhile, the armored warrior damages the train's control valve, causing it to speed up uncontrollably. Then, the three girls suddenly experience an unknown extreme vibration at the same time, and Akari enters the engine room saying she was worried for her. Finally, Menou defeats the warrior, then punishes Akari for putting herself at risk and for making her use more power to fight defensively. Realizing she doesn't have enough power left, she is forced to borrow power from Akari to stop the train last second, leaving them both exhausted but thrilled. Somehow, Momo and Ashina is still seen dueling, which lasts long into the next morning, with no end in sight. In the morning, Menou can't shake the uncomfortable feeling that the train actually did crash and kill everyone, including herself, meaning Akari must have actually reversed time for the entire world by several minutes, which saved everyone. As Menou and Akari continue their journey to Garm, Menou recalls her childhood after she was rescued by Master Flare. Having had her soul bleached as a side effect of her village being destroyed, Menou has lost all of her desires and motivations, only feeling compelled to follow Flare wherever she goes. After witnessing Flare dispatch numerous lost ones, she decides to become Flare's apprentice, despite Flare's warnings that executioners like her are actually the villains of the story. She then brings Menou to a convent where young priestesses are trained, and there, she was able to learn more about lost ones and how to defeat them. Unfortunately, she was the only one in her class capable of actually going through with a mission, as everyone else is scared to finish someone off, so she meets with Flare. During the meeting, she inquires for her to take on the mantle of terminating lost ones on behalf of everyone else, as she thinks they are unable to do so. Intrigued by Menou's sudden determination, Flare decides to train Menou to become her successor and deemed a Flarette. In the present, Menou and Akari finally arrive at Garm. Here, Akari asks Menou to take her on a date. P.S. they didn't realize this was a Yuri, and to show her around the city later. At the cathedral, Orwell welcomes the two girls, saying the special chamber will be ready in 2 days. At night, Akari is upset at Menou for not keeping her promise as she's supposed to be gone in 2 days. So Menou calls in Momo, who tells her about the investigation into the mysterious disappearances of girls around the city. She then assigns Momo, who managed to evade Ashina, to take care of the investigation for her so she can keep her promise with Akari to go out on a date. Momo is of course annoyed after finding out that she's doing it just so Akari and Menou can spend time together. Regardless, Menou comes back in and is about to let Akari know that she'll keep her promise. But Akari comes out of the bath and lets her know that she's sorry for being so emotional earlier. The next day, the two finally get to go on the dates around the city. They end up enjoying themselves quite a lot, and soon, night falls and they are back at their place. Inside their room, Akari starts suggesting they become way more intimate before she leaves. If you get my drift. But Menou declines the offer, causing Akari to be a little bit salty. The duo then continue to spend time together before heading to the special chamber, where Menou prepares to witness Akari's death. Meanwhile, Momo continues to investigate the case of the missing woman and follows a lead into the underground sewers. There, she finds Ashina, who proposes joining together into a temporary alliance to figure out what exactly is going on below Garm. Underneath the palace, the two girls discover a summoning chamber, proving the noblesse and Garm are involved in summoning. However, Ashina points out that the noblesse do not possess the knowledge of summoning, which is exclusive only to the Faust, meaning a high-ranking Faust must be collaborating with them. Momo then realizes that the only person capable of such a thing is Orwell and sends a warning to Menou before she and Ashina are attacked by monsters. Menou then tries to interrupt the ritual but is cornered by Orwell, who explains that she plans to use the chamber to erase Akari's mind so she can use her pure concept to reverse her aging, effectively becoming immortal. Orwell was in fact the one responsible for the missing woman, as she was attempting to use them in failed youth experiments before Akari was summoned. Intending to use Menou as a sacrifice to power the ritual, Orwell summons a monster to attack her. While Menou fights Orwell's monster, the Archbishop reveals that it was actually her messing with a Lost One's power to cause the destruction of Menou's home village. Cut to Akari, who's about to get sacrificed. But her power of the pure concept of time takes effect automatically, retrieving her memory, soul, and spirit to a certain time point, allowing her to consciously use her pure concept to full effect. She then stops the ritual and makes all the priestesses disappear while saying that only Menou is allowed to kill her, before she willingly erases her conscious knowledge about her power again. Meanwhile, in the sewers, a red dragon that Momo and Ashina are busy fighting activates Momo's trap card by destroying her ribbon, a gift from Menou. This causes her to go berserk and she ends up soloing the dragon. With the power of love coursing through her veins, she unleashes a devastating attack upon the castle. Afterwards, Momo then somehow transforms into Goku and sends a one-handed spirit bomb at Orwell's cathedral, allowing Akari to rejoin Menou. Then, Momo arrives with a superhero landing, where she quickly takes care of an armored soldier. On the other hand, Menou and Orwell battle, where Menou ends up having to tap into Akari's pure concepts, where she then super ages Orwell to death. After the battle, Ashina watches over a passed out Momo and takes her leave. However, during their joining, Menou and Akari have troubling visions of their future together, in which Akari unwillingly causes Menou to perish after the latter has failed to kill her. She wishes for Menou, and only Menou, to kill her before that happens. If you got this far, leave some love.